Hello, today we're going to teach you how to pre-flight a Cessna 150. This here is a Cessna 150. It's a 1975 M model, and we're going to go over all the items that are basic in general for the safe flight of the aircraft. The first thing we want to do is talk about AERO, which I'll get into later, but AERO stands for Airworthiness Registration, Radio License, Operating Limitations, Weight and Balance, and ELT. And those are documents that you want to have on board the aircraft, so come on over and I'll show you where they're located. First thing we want to do is we check for the documentation that's right here in the pouch. We'll remove the control lock from the airplane so you can see that it's free. We'll turn on the master, which is this red button right here. It's the battery master. And then we're going to go ahead and lower the flaps. And the flaps are going to come down behind us, off to our left. Once you hear the motor stop, you'll know there. Then we'll go ahead and turn the master off. Make sure the fuel is in the on position. There's a lever right here that's up is off, down is on. We'll go ahead and close the door and we'll start our basic walk around. Okay, as we do our pre-flight, we're going to check on the empennage of the airplane. Make sure there's no massive dents or rivets missing. Check for the structural integrity. Also, we want to make sure we have our data plate here, which is the serial number of the aircraft. It needs to be put on the tail to be somewhere in the empennage to be legal. Check the general condition of the horizontal stabilizer. A little bit of movement is fine. We're in a Cessna 150, so there is some oil canning. Want to check the elevator, free movement. It's important that you keep positive force on here in case you get a gust of wind. You don't take your fingers off. Check for the rivets. Check for the cotter pins in the elevator. Make sure they're all in there. You can see them right there. There's one on the top and there's also one on the bottom. Want to make sure that the rudder moves free, unobstructed, full travel. Then we're going to move to the other side of the aircraft. We're going to check up at the rotating beacon, make sure it's not cracked. Tail light. And we're going to come back down on this side. Check for the elevator trim tab. Make sure the cotter pin's there. The bolt and the nut are through there. We also want free movement here, but very little movement here as we don't want flutter. So this has to be fairly secure and snug. Check the horizontal stabilizer on this side as well. Make sure we have our inspection panel screws all in. We have also, if you look underneath here on the rudder, you can also see the cotter pins, the nut and the bolt going through there. Make sure those are on with the integrity. We check the right side of the empennage. We have the ELT battery, emergency locator transmitter. Check the integrity of the flaps. There should be some play. This is about normal for this type of aircraft. I know that from experience, not from a book that's telling me that, but check the ailerons as well. And when you check the ailerons, you want to make sure you have your hand holding it up and look inside here. If you're going to put your fingers up here, you want to be holding it with your other hand so the wind doesn't take it and snap your finger off, because one quick snap and bam, there goes your finger. Snap it right off. Then we come over here to the leading edge, the wingtip, excuse me, nav light. All the screws are in. Then we go to the leading edge of the aircraft, walk around towards the cabin. And then when we get over here, the most important thing I think is part of this whole pre-flight is, more importantly, is visually check your gas. So when you would check the gas, not only are we going to drain it, but we're going to visually check it. We're going to climb up on the step here, grab a hold, and then we're going to climb up to the top. And here is the fuel cap right here, which we take off. And we can look inside and see fuel. Very important. Also, you can dip your finger in there as well, and you can see you have fuel on your finger. So you want to make sure, just because the gauges say they're full, that they're full. Okay, finishing up on this side, we're going to check the tires, proper tire pressure. On this aircraft, I believe it's 45 PSI, but we checked the manual. They appear to be in good order and good shape. Check the discs. Right in here, we got plenty of meat on the shoes. The aircraft moves freely, so it's not binding. And then we're going to go ahead and drain the fuel. Now, what we're looking for in this fuel drain is we're going to strain the fuel from the right wing. We're going to look for contaminants. Contaminants such as junk, as water would show as a little bubble, and junk that just floats down, and that's just from being inside the fuel or inside the wing. Dust settles and it seeps in through the wing caps, the caps on the wings. We'll come over here in the engine compartment, and this is where we check our oil. But before we check our oil, we can also strain our fuel, which is a fuel strainer right here. And then you can insert the little and pull the lever. And now you have another way of checking your engine sump fuel. That's the lowest part of the engine where the fuel collects, and that looks pretty clean, as you can see. Now as we're in here, we're looking at the general overall condition. No loose wires, nothing chafing. And while we're in here, we're also going to check the oil, which is this little yellow dipstick right here. And we're going to pull it out, and we are going to see that it is at 5.5. Minimum is 4 for this airplane, maximum is 6. We're in good shape. All right, then we're going to move to the front of the aircraft. General rule of thumb, you can hang on the propeller, and you want about 3 fingers for the nose strut. See how I got my 3 fingers from the bottom casting to the top? That's with the pressure.
Put your fingers in there.
That's what you want, about a 3-finger space to ensure you've got proper air and you've got oil in the strut. Going to check the air filter for any obstructions, which there isn't any. Check the propeller. Going to check the leading edges for any gouges that need to be filed. Check the nose cone, make sure it's secure, and general peek inside the engine, make sure there's no bird's nest or anything obstructing the air inlet. All right, now back on this side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to jump up on the wing. We're going to look in the fuel cap, pull it out, make sure there's fuel. When you secure them, must be parallel to the fuselage. So they'll be sitting like this and parallel. They go in like this, and then they turn. That's how we make sure they're locked. Okay. Coming back on this side, the overall condition. Here's the air inlet for the cabin. Make sure that's unobstructed. And as we move over here to the inspection panel, the screws are in. And then we have the pitot tube, which is for airspeed. This measures the air going through the tube. You want to make sure it's unobstructed. We look in there. There's also a drain hole, a little itty bitty drain hole on the bottom. That's drained for any kind of water or contaminants. You want to look there as well. So that's very important. Then we have the vent. This is for fuel venting. Make sure that's unobstructed. When it's full, it'll usually seep out on a hot day. As the gas expands, it's got nowhere to go. So that's what the vent is for. Then we have our stall warning indicator. You can actually make this work in the cabin by sucking on it. You hear that? That means when you hear that noise, that the aircraft wing has stalled. It has reached the critical angle of attack and has stalled. All right, so we're going to come up over here and check the leading edge. Check this nav light. It's in good shape as well. No cracks. And then we're going to also check this aileron. Free movement. Like I said, if you're going to look in here and check for the integrity of items, you make sure you're holding it with your other hand for the safety of your fingers. As we reach here, we check our other panel, make sure that's on, and we check these flaps. Same give as the other side. There should be a little bit of give. The integrity's good. And then we'll come back and we'll do our last fuel drain on this side of the aircraft. Look for contaminants. This side seems to be a little better. Each tank holds its own separate fuel, and this one looks good. Now what I recommend, if it's good, if you want, you can climb back up, throw it back in the wing. So here at Plane Cheap Rentals, we could have had an expensive production and all kinds of graphics, but we try to pass the savings on to you. So instead we did it our way, the Plane Cheap way. The money we save on this production is the money you save on your rental.